You're listening to Selling the Dream. This isn't an interview, and we're not journalists. But each week, we'll ask our guests to open up and share their secrets to business success. Let's have a conversation and have some fun.
Hey everybody, welcome to Selling the Dream, a podcast about selling, a podcast about owning businesses, podcasting about leadership. Today's going to be a lot of fun because, as you all know, my good friend Joe Iredell is always with us. What's up, Joe?
Yo.
And today we're joined by another very good friend of mine, Brandon Altieri from Atsö Auto Salon. He's going to be joining us today, and I can't wait. I feel like these conversations, Joe, when I talk to you on the phone, it's always a good time, always lots of laughs. Brandon, same thing when I talk to you on the phone. I always enjoy it, and I figured this. I was looking forward. I had this date circled on the calendar. I'm definitely looking forward. Not to oversell it. This episode might suck.
Man, you're hyping it up, dude.
I know you're hyping it up all crazy.
Hey, game, dog.
So don't. Hey guys, don't screw it up. All right.
Say something funny right now.
Right now, do it. All right. So, Brandon, first and foremost, introduce yourself. Tell the people a little bit about you, real brief, and then we're going to do the two truths and a lie. I always forget to do the two truths and a lie. So, Joe's job is to awkwardly interrupt to make sure that I do it in case I forget.
There we go.
So, Brandon Altieri, I own Atsö Auto Salon, also Atsö Auto Concierge, valet service. Been friends with Kenny for, 10 years? Been 10 years.
About that.
Yeah. So
How old are you?
33. Don't.
Yeah. Since you were 23.
All black here still. You know, we're good. Only had the business for 3 years, so it's not white yet. But no, I met Kenny out of college. Doing mortgages together, and just became good friends. And then even as the split happened, when I left the mortgage industry and moved out to New Jersey from Philadelphia, we stayed in touch. And when I started the businesses, I called him up and I said, "Can I ask you a favor?" And he's, "What's that?" And I was like, "I think you can coach me." And since I started now, we talk once a week, once every other week when he's not at a Phillies game or golfing or whatever he's doing. Put me on the back burner. But, he helps me out a lot, and he's got a lot of great tips. And when he asked me about jumping on this podcast, I was excited for it. So.
Nice. Well, we're happy to have you, man, and I'm proud of everything that you've done over the last couple of years. We're going to get into all of it. But before we do, got to start with the two truths. See, I didn't forget this time. Two truths and a lie. Do you have your three facts prepared?
I do. All
right. Give me fact number one.
Sopranos, favorite TV show of all time, bar none. Anytime I order a cheesesteak, provolone only. And my third is one of my random hobbies that I'm actually super passionate about is saltwater fish, reef keeping.
Reef keeping. Joe, look at that fish tank behind you. I think you could probably ask a question or two that might indicate the realities.
These are all rescues, bro. These are all rescues.
Rescues?
Yeah.
What'd you get? You saved them from the fair?
I saved them from the carnival.
There you go. How many kids you got?
A bunch of carnies came to town. Saved them.
Hey, Joe, tell me how many kids you got.
Huh? I got 5 kids.
Good for you, man. Staying busy. I like that.
That's it. Free labor.
Dude, I could find 20 people that like didn't want Joe to have one kid.
That's not true at all.
I'm in the same boat. Trust me.
I spent years trying to avoid those people.
All right, so Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit? One of the things that I love about your story, obviously, is you went from college right into 100% commission sales. All right, tell me. Let's start a little bit about the mortgage business. What was your experience like? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about life? What was your first 2 years in the real world like for you?
It feels like you walk out the door and get smashed in your face. It was tough. I mean, to be honest, like I went to West Virginia University, was in a fraternity, I did nothing for my entire college career except go to class, go to the gym, and party. So getting out into the real world, it was kind of like, it was the real world. You know what I mean? I got into the full commission job. I got sold into, you make this many calls, you get this, and you get this, and then you make all this money. And it just, it wasn't the case at the time. I was making the calls and trying to get everything rolling. And I learned that it's not the same for everybody when you get out of school. I mean, you have some people who are great on the phone. You have some people who aren't so good on the phone. And, I learned that just because it might take, Ken actually was one of the main people who taught me this, is like, every Monday you make your calls or whatever you're going to do. But it's like, I might only have to make 10 calls to set 10 coffee appointments. Ken might have to make 20 calls. Joe, you might have to make 100 calls. You never know. So it was kind of like, it was a trial and error thing. And I think that, it taught me that you got to be patient once you really get into like the sales role and trying to push on the pedal, because those first couple weeks, months, maybe a year, you know what I mean, you're not getting anywhere. The first 2 years in the mortgage industry, I mean, I didn't really close that many loans. It was stressful because you think you're working and you think you're trying, and you just got to keep kind of greasing the wheel and lean on the people around you. I learned a lot, and that was something that was hard for me because you try to be so independent. You're like a man, you're this, you're that, and it's like it's hard to ask for help sometimes when you're down. But the faster you can get over that hump, I think that the more successful you'll be in a quicker run, to talk to people who've taken the punches and done their thing.
That's important, man. It's important to have people around you that either, there's two kinds of people you need to have around you, right? You need people around you that are in it, right? They have the experience, that have walked that path and maybe are, a little bit ahead of you on that path. And then there's people that you need that are not in it, right? These are the outside perspectives. The outside perspectives can be just as valuable as the people that are in it with you. And I think that that's a big reason why Joe and I still talk. Like, Joe's not in the mortgage business, and I am not in the whatever business Joe's in.
Business of being awesome.
But we need that. We need each other's outside perspectives, and that cross pollination of ideas is critical. So you get out of the mortgage business. You're like, all right, this isn't for me. Which, by the way, I think was a big step for you, and it's something a lot of people, they're scared. Whether it's they're scared to make a move, or they just are willing to sit and suffer and not take action and not take ownership and not take responsibility for their lives. Like, you're like, you know what? This isn't working for me. I'm going to take action. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go in a different direction. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I got to be honest. Like, the day that I got out of the mortgage business, I was like, it was like a big weight off of my shoulders, because it was something that there were parts of the business that I really did enjoy. Like, I loved the meetings. I loved the happy hours. I loved the networking aspect of it. I think Ken can attest to the fact that, like, that's what is one of my strengths, I would say, is that I enjoy meeting people. I like to know everybody. I like to be in that scene. That was a part that I really, really enjoyed. But the back end stuff, it just wasn't for me. And yeah, I mean, it definitely was. It was scary at first, but then once I like kind of cut the cord, I couldn't have been happier, like, to move forward. And I think that you're right. Like, a lot of people are they're afraid to cut the cord.
Or they're okay with suffering, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're okay with just being in a shit situation and not doing anything about it. How many people do we know that are in shit situations and they're just not doing anything about it? You know what I mean? Like, that, I think that's a tragedy, but having the courage to take that step, I think, is huge. Tell me about, so why detailing, right? I don't want to downplay. You're an auto salon, not a detailer. I get it. Why detailing? Why take that step?
So I guess I've always been around cars. Growing up, my uncle, he's got pizzerias. He always washed cars. They tinted windows. They did a lot of side work. My other uncle, Danny, he was always cleaning his cars. So I was always helping him clean cars. Like I'm talking from like age 7, 8, growing up, always around cars. My dad always collected motorcycles. So he was always outside on nice days. He'd be out cleaning his bike and taking that out for a ride. So I was like, it kind of always stuck with me. And then I was the era where honestly, Fast and Furious came out, the first one, and everybody was in the cars. Everybody wanted to work on their car. And I was right around the age of like looking for my first car. All my friends worked on cars. So it was just kind of like a culture. And I liked keeping my car clean because I had been brought up like that. And I just kind of stuck with it as a side hustle. And it was always in the back of my mind. It was kind of crazy because I always thought through college, everywhere, I was like, I want a detail business. I want a detail business down the line. But it was always like, when I have enough money to have a detail business, like me and Ken used to talk about all the time. It's like the steps that I needed to get to where I could open the business. You know what I mean? But it was like, finally, when it came time to cut the cord, I was like, fuck it. Like I'm just gonna go for it like now. And I mean, I'm so happy I did. There's definitely days where I'm a little bit nuts, but you know, it was just always like in me, and I kind of always just the passion for cars kind of molded into how can I make this be not just your middle of the run car wash down the street that you go pay $17 for and have them wiping your shit down with dirty towels. Like, how can I turn this into like a full on experience and turn it into a real business that's going to facilitate real income, and not just like a hobby? Because everybody you talk to is like, I detail cars on the side, I wash cars on the side. You never talk to somebody who's like, I built a multi-million-dollar business washing cars. And honestly, a huge part of the reason why I started it was because there were a lot of people who said like, you can't make money washing cars. And it's really just not, it's not the case because people are emotionally attached to their car. I know plenty of them. They're all my customers,
I
you
think
know?
that's what I love about what you did, with your approach, with your brand going high end. That was the right move because people who just need to get their car washed are kind of embarrassed that their car looks dirty as hell, right?
Correct.
Then they're going to pay $17, the minimum amount of money, so that they're not embarrassed anymore. The
Correct.
other side of the coin is the people that are driving around in the stuff that you detail. We're like, it's not about that. It's about a prized possession of theirs looking as good as it possibly can. And those people are willing to pay way more to make sure that their prized possession stays in really good shape, right?
Correct. And we add the value of getting the certifications that those kind of people who most people think of a car as a depreciating asset. And I deal with people who buy cars that are appreciating assets. So, like, at the end of the day, we do services to the car, paint protection film, all that kind of ceramic coatings, paint corrections, all of that. That certain aspects of that process can be added to the Carfax. So when they go to sell that car in 3 years and they have film on the car, they can ask for top dollar because of the services that were performed on that car right from the get go. So I mean, I work on cars that people pay paint to sample paint from Porsche. It's $25,000 option just for the paint. Why would you not want to preserve that to the best of its ability?
Did you have a make or break moment? You alluded to it a few minutes ago where you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. Like, do you remember that moment? Do you remember where you were? Do you remember what you were, what you were feeling at that moment? Like, tell me about that moment.
I was sitting in Teaneck, New Jersey, on in an interview with Depew Synthes to get into medical device sales, and had two guys who looked like beta as they come sitting across from me telling me how I would never be able to sell medical devices and detail on the side. How are you going to do both? And why would you want to detail? Because it's never going to make you the kind of money that you can make in this industry. And that was kind of like strike one. And then the following day, I was in going into a case where they're doing the surgery. They brought me in to make sure that obviously when they slice someone's leg half open, that you're not going to get queasy. And I was putting the scrubs on, and I guess one of the surgeons walked through, and saw my tattoos all the way through everywhere. And he said, "Who was the guy with all the tattoos?" Like whatever to one of the other reps. And then the rep told the recruiter, and the recruiter called me after I was interviewing for 6 months. Was like, "Hey, wear an Under Armour under your suit next time you go into your interview." The guy was all twisted up about your tattoos. And then that moment, I was like, "I'm good, man. I don't. We don't need to do this. Like, you guys shit on my hobby and my passion, and you're asking me to take a step back anyway to get into this field with as far as income goes." And that was it. I was like, fuck it. Like, the next day, called my buddy Dimitri up, who's in the insurance industry. He has a detail business as well, and I was like, yo, let's start doing some cars together. And then I just started kind of building it. Met Tom D'Ambrisi at Butcher Block, and started serving tables there on the side. He just opened the steakhouse and started detailing before shifts, days that I wasn't working. And then within 6 months, I had an EIN number and just was figuring it out.
Joe,
And
do
it
you remember
was
your make or break moment? Like when you were
Um,
like, you were working. I mean, yours is a little different. You
yeah,
transitioned from sales to an industry that was essentially the same thing as you were currently selling, right?
yeah, pretty much. But I think like it all just stems from people's once someone realizes that how you make money is just the vehicle. Like the job is the vehicle, but if you actually enjoy, like you have a passion, you want to do something, you can figure out how to make money doing it. Like if you love juggling, like you could be a juggler, dude. Like we actually, me and KJ knew a juggler, right? You can do it like anything, dude. Like that's what it starts at. Like you have to find something you love. It sounds so cliche, but like
but it's
it's
so
simple.
true.
So and then you can figure it out. Like money is easy to make. Like it's just a matter of like, is this something that I'm going to get up in the morning and be like, all right, like let's go do this, and like it becomes bigger than the money coming in. But to answer your question, my make or break moment, whatever, was like I was I figured out that I'm like, if I do this work, like I can do this without. So in the digital space, like websites, stuff like that, I was looking at all of the overhead that goes into running these big companies that were like digital marketing companies and website, and like they're not getting raw materials to build websites or do marketing. So like it's all going to this overhead to pay sales assistants, to pay this, all the executives, all this. I'm like, I could literally just do this and take, all of the profit. And like I need maybe like 4 clients and I can make 10 times what these companies can make because I don't have the overhead. So but that was because I wanted to just surf all day and like go on vacations and live at the beach and stuff like that. So I was like, how do I figure out how to do that and use this as a vehicle? And then I got really into, the digital space. I actually really enjoyed it because it's always evolving and learning. But I used that then to open other businesses and learn the process of, it's basically once you start one company, it's rinse and repeat. Like you follow the same process over and over, and and then you can get really cool because you can dabble into things that like I got into, jujitsu and training and all that stuff. And I'm like going down that path of getting into those businesses now. And it's cool because I like what I bring to the table and what they bring to the table is completely different. But, there's synergy with it. So it all stems from if you truly find what you love to do and you have the balls to go try and figure out how to make money to do it, you'll be successful. So,
You
like,
got you got to grab them every day, bro. You got to make sure they're still there for
yep,
real every day. It's crazy.
yep.
You said so Brandon, that brings us to, so here you are, you're like, all right, I'm going to start this detailing shop, but I think you had a genius idea, something, again, like businesses that are adjacent where it might be another lane, but it's on the same highway. And I think that's where a lot of people can compound their success. You just look at some of the most successful people. They don't just do one thing. Most of them don't just do one thing. Even coaches, successful coaches, They're also speakers. They're also authors. They have different business lines. You picked up valet parking as one of your adjacent businesses, and now I mean, you make a pretty good living. Your business. I'm not going to say a living because that business is a pretty good revenue stream for you, correct?
100%. And to put it in sales terms, it's one of the hoppers that just pours leads into my
Smart.
whatever you want to call it at the bottom, because I meet these people who I get to, if I want to be over at one of the restaurants, Butcher Block being one of them. It's the top steakhouse in New Jersey by far, and maybe one of the top on the East Coast, as far as revenue goes and turnover. I can touch every single car that comes in there, and then I can talk to that person. I could put a sales together the second that they come in. Every single person that comes in, you open the door. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Love the car. I own a detail business. We're mobile. Whatever you want to say to them. You know what I mean? So it's like it created a whole nother stream of customers, and it is my niche customer who comes there because you're not paying $185 for a steak if chances are you don't do half decent for yourself. So the atypical customer who comes to the restaurant is mine. So, I kind of, and that all just came about because we closed for a renovation, and the owner and I became really good friends. He's a great dude, off the wall, crazy like me. And he's another one who just goes for it. I've never met somebody in my life who says fuck it more and just goes for it. And every dime that would come in, he would turn over and dump into the restaurant. So when we went through this big renovation, he was like pedal to the floor, crushing it. You couldn't get in that place if you wanted to. People were waiting 3 hours to sit down for dinner. And 9 o'clock reservation, people weren't sitting down till midnight. It was the craziest thing. And he just out of nowhere was like, "We're gonna close the doors. We're gonna redo the whole restaurant." And everybody was like, "What are you talking about? Like, we're doing 600, 700 reservations a night." Yeah, fuck it. We're closing. And a renovation that was supposed to take a couple months took a year. And in that year, most places would obviously go out of business. He kept everybody afloat. He kept all his employees rolling. He just put all his chips on the table. And we were at dinner one night, and I was like, "Yo, like, why don't I just run the valet?" And he was like, "All right, yeah. I mean, you're into the cars, the whole nine." And I just opened the LLC up and then just started figuring it out and got insurance and prayed that they didn't sink me in the first 2 months by smashing something up. And
Who's that? Randy?
my guys, my esteemed employees, my NASA fall off. But and it just it all kind of compounded, and then them being like such close businesses is now evolving into more things where I'm gonna be offering car washes while people come to dinner now. So like this, now that the weather's breaking, my shop, I bought a guy's business who's 2 doors down from the restaurant. Not because of location, to be quite honest. I don't love the location because it's a little far off the parkway. It has all whatever, but I bought it because the block is here, my shop's here. So when people come in for dinner, instead of having your wife sit there on a Saturday afternoon and take your truck for 3 hours and run around wherever she's going to go, you can come to dinner and they're going to offer, hey, just, quick hand wash, vacuum, take it down. I mean, who really would say no to that? You know what I mean? You come back out from dinner, your car's clean and it's done. And then my card's in there. And then the ball keeps rolling. Cause then the next conversation is, you did a great job. Yeah, we do it mobile too. So you don't have to come to dinner this time. Next time, we'll come to the house. And that's how it all compounds. So it definitely, I think that the parallel businesses are huge.
So how do you control quality at scale?
Good training. I think that, that was a hard jump for me because a lot of these people with these cars who spend that kind of money, they're like, well, what do you mean you're not coming to my house? I'm like, well, at some point I have to grow.
Right.
So it's just good training. I mean, my guys, they know the quality that I expect. They know the quality that the customer expects, and I kind of groom them with the customer. So I'd be there with them. They would do the cars, I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, John? This is Eric. This is Juan. Whoever's going to be there. This is so and so. Meet them, know them." So that when they come to your house and open your garage door when you're on vacation and they go in your house and shut your alarm off, like, who it is when you crack the camera on, So it was just kind of like, it was the whole training aspect. Like, I have one process for washes. It gets done the same way every single time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of car, what kind of truck, whatever it is, there's a process that they have to follow. And so it kind of, as you scale and get bigger, doesn't matter where the truck is or what car is getting done or where it's at. They're all getting done the same way.
Dude, talk about the frustration of high standards.
In what regard?
I
My,
mean,
my high standards, my
look,
customers' high
in
standards.
my business, in your business, Joe. I mean, potentially in your business, I don't. I'll let you. Maybe speak to it. But like, when you're scaling and you're delegating and you're passing off certain activities, like the saying, like someone who does something 80% as good as you do is 100% awesome, right? Like that's the whole idea behind scale. But at the same time, you have to maintain standards, and your standards become an issue if they're not being upheld. So it's like that's another thing, another area of balance in scale.
I think you have to actually make the decision of whether am I going to be Outback Steakhouse or am I going to be Butcher Block Steakhouse, right? So like if I'm Outback, good enough is good enough to serve the masses, and I'm not going to be able to command a premium for it as if I would on the higher end. So what I've done with businesses in the past is, and it's not uncommon. This is a pretty common practice. So you have like your white glove service, which you charge a premium for, and that's like your elite Navy SEAL team that handles. And then you have like an offshoot offering, which is more scalable and not as like I guess it's more homogenized if you scale it that way. So you have the brand behind it, but you don't necessarily have those expectations. Like someone who's coming in and they're expecting top level service, they're not paying for it, but they're getting the name behind it and so forth. So that's a way to do it. But I guess like to your point, Brandon, is that like if you have the process so dialed in and you can train people to do things repetitively over the same way over, and you have checks and balances and fail safes where if something was wrong, you can identify exactly where it went because you have the process. Then any kind of feedback you get from a customer or someone like that where it's like, well, this was messed up, you can go back and you can either say, no, we followed step A, B, C, D, E, or you can identify exactly in the process where it was and you can correct it and make sure it doesn't happen further.
I
So
think I think that's where we do that because the process is the same, so I can always kind of correct it. And you know, like in the terms of like messing up, they mess up when they forget to do something or they're rushing or whatever the case is, and then it gets handled. And you just always have to do your best to make good on it. For me, at least, my customers, you're always going to get that jerk off who's going to go somewhere else. It just is what it is. Like it, it's I deal with a very very high end clientele, and it took a lot of getting used to because I was somewhat lucky that I did start learning how to detail on my own when I was doing it on the side with a higher end clientele. I did. I got linked up with a couple people from my mom's job, her boss being one of them. He's my first real customer, and he's been my customer since I'm 15 years old.
What does he drive?
Right now, he's got a 911 turbo. He's got an Audi R8. He's got a Nissan GTR, a couple Harleys. But he he's been my customer since the beginning, and he has a high standard because he has nice cars. So I kind of always start it with the bar high, and when my guys come in, they have to start with the bar high because their first car might be $300,000-$400,000 car. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they know the standard and the expectation, and when they fuck up, I let them know, and I make them go back, and they do the car free of charge, and I let them know that, listen, like, this is your warning. You're not getting paid for that. You know what I mean? And it kind of keeps them level, because they know they don't want to go back and work for free. I'm like, you got to do that at the end of the day. Yeah, it is what it is. I don't
Is
So
know.
there
you hold them
anything
accountable by saying, "Look, you're going to go back and you're going to fix this, and you're not getting paid for it."
Correct. Is that
that's
legal?
that's right? Yeah. If it's per contract work, then yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, you got to do the job as the satisfaction to what was agreed to.
Of,
And
of the customer, and you
yeah,
know what,
exactly.
like, it's
I'm
just
not a lawyer, by the way, but
What'd you say?
I'm not a lawyer, by the way. Don't take any of this
Yeah,
legal advice. But
I hope
yeah.
mine's not listening, but
Yeah.
they're compensated accordingly.
So, is
But
there
yeah.
anything different that you do for a high end car that you would not do like a regular car? Like, what is the if I have a Ferrari and they're like, all right, take this to a regular detailer versus like taking a Toyota Tundra. Like, what's the difference?
So we have all different tiers of our services. You know what I mean? There's a basic level detail, which in most cases the Toyota Tundra is going to get. But working on a car like a Ferrari, just the real main difference is the process is always the same. If they're both getting standard details, the process is the same. The way that they're going to work on them is 99% exactly the same. The products that are going to be used on the Ferrari are a little bit different. There's certain sponges, well, rags and whatnot that you're using on the Ferrari, just because it's a much softer paint, higher end. You know what I mean? So the products itself is what drives the cost up on a standard detail on a Ferrari, just solely because, same thing. If you go to change your brakes on a Toyota Tundra, brakes and rotors on that truck might be $1,000 all the way around. You change carbon ceramic brakes on a Ferrari all the way around, you're spending 60 grand. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's kind of
Yeah,
like, the process is the same to do both, but the product and the care and the technique is a little bit different because it's much more delicate. So
gotcha.
it costs more money and the time. It takes more time to detail that Ferrari, whether even though it's clean, it takes more time because, all the gullies and all the body lines and all, they're just very intricate cars. And I think it's tough sometimes to talk to the owner unless they are a true car person, to make them understand that, because a lot of these guys who get Ferraris, they just have a ton of money. They're just like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna go buy a Ferrari because I can. They don't understand the intricacies that go into cleaning them. And they're like, why can't I get a $50 wash? I'm like, because I don't do that. And you want a $50 wash, go drive that shit through the car wash and call me when they fuck it up and I have to fix it. You
yeah.
know, but it's yeah, I mean, it's just an intricate process with those cars for sure.
What's the highest end car you guys ever worked on?
Bugatti Chiron, 3.8 million.
You want to see what they look like, bro? KJ, hold on.
Yeah.
There's there's 50 of them in the country right now.
Yeah, one of
And
them is in a garage in Florida that belongs to one of my partners. Let me show you this, dude.
yeah, I mean, like, there's certain, and honestly, there's certain cars that I've worked on that are quote unquote priceless. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Look at that thing, dude. It's his daily driver, bro.
No shot.
Wait, swear to God.
What's he do? Fucking burn money for heat?
I'd rather not say.
Um, so, all right, so that's cool, man. So, all right, let's talk about what sucks about being an entrepreneur. What sucks about being a business owner? What are some of the things what are some of the challenges? I mean, I know I'm asking rhetorically for myself because we talk pretty frequently, but like, talk about some of the things that people are going to get into this business in any business. What's some of the shit they got to be prepared for?
Joe?
Uh, for me, it's the letdown of dealing with people who are not like-minded like you. When you have everything and you're just like, dude, like, I don't understand. Like, why don't you see things the way that, like, even dealing with other business owners and stuff like that, where it's like just simple common sense stuff where you just assume that everyone's going to be cool and they're not. Just like, dude, like I don't get it. So for me, that was the biggest. And it's still every day. I'm never not like
Yeah.
shocked. It was like, dude, like what's with this guy? Like, why would you do your business like that? Like, I don't get it. So I think that's it. That's the biggest thing that sucks. But
I would agree 100% with that. I think that the biggest part and the most challenging thing is dealing with the people. I think you have to navigating the people and trying to weed out all of the people you don't want to work with to get to the people you want to work with, and having to tolerate some of the people that you do work with and you don't want to is hard. I mean, keeping your emotions kind of bottled a little bit is tough sometimes. And you're right. Like, you have people tell you how to do your business and do this and do that. And it's like, you just want to kind of be like, yo, like kind of, it's
right,
just, I'm going to do my way. You know what I mean? This is why it's called my business. But, it's, yeah, dealing with the people is definitely it. And I think that the biggest thing, and I talked to you about this a couple weeks ago, Ken, I think, is climbing the ladder, and what the fuck falls off of you when you climb the ladder. And being prepared mentally for what's going to fall off is hard. And it's one of the challenges that I'm having right now, where it's like, I live in New Jersey. All of my family lives out in Pennsylvania. I don't see my family as much. When I lived in Philly, I'm very close to my grandmother. I saw my grandma every single day. I would go to her house, whether it was before work or after work.
Your grandmom's awesome, by the way. She's one of my
favorites. Get her on the podcast.
We should, Joe.
And she'll motherfuck everyone.
Brandon used to record conversations with him and his grandma and bring it into the office.
She's a riot. and my grandpa will just sit there with basil behind his ear and just shake his head and eat super sod. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think that everything that falls off is hard, man. I think it's hard to like realize that, you're gonna sacrifice relationships, you're gonna sacrifice family time, you're gonna sacrifice things that you like to do as hobbies or whatever that don't make you money for the business that you're getting into. And I think that a lot of people, they're either not prepared for it or they're not willing to accept it. You know what I mean? I think that there's a lot of times that, like, my buddies, pretty much all of them, none of them own businesses. They all make good money in whatever particular job that they do. They're like, oh, you want to go out, come down to Philly, we'll do this on the weekend. And I'm like, I can't. And it's like, sometimes you're sacrificing some of your best friends because people don't understand. And then they're like, oh, we won't even call you anymore because we know you say no every time. You know what I mean? And I think that that's one of the biggest things for me, is that all the shit that falls down to the ground as you try to climb the ladder is like, it's a pretty big pill to swallow.
I'll tell you what, though, dude, just the fact that you're cognizant, that you're aware of that, I think is huge. And I think it's what holds a lot of people back. They there's a book, 10X is easier than 2X, that I read, where it talks about visualizing what your business looks like at 10 times the scale than it is right now. It's actually easier than visualizing what your business looks like if it was double the scale. Because in order to double your business, you don't have to change much. You could double your business out of brute force 9 times out of 10. But in order to get to 10 times, you have to transform yourself and your business to get there. But what's great about it is the clarity you gain knowing, like, all right, if that's what I want, I can't do this anymore. I can't be this person anymore. And it's glaringly obvious. So you get to make that choice. Say, okay, if I'm going to 10X, then I do. You're right, Brandon. I got to say no to stuff. But at least you're saying no to stuff, knowing that you're saying yes to a 10X vision versus trying to have it all. My favorite, I don't know when I learned it in the last couple of years, but you can have anything you want in life, but you can't have everything you want in life. And that's it. That's something that a lot of people fail to realize. They think, oh, success is having everything you want. No, everything you want. You can't be fit and eat cheesesteaks every day, right? You got it. But if you want to be fit, you can be fit. Joe, what do you got?
You can do that. You can eat cheesesteaks.
I can do that. You can't do that.
You can
No,
be fit.
but if you want to eat cheesesteaks every day and you want to be fit, then you got to add that 3 hours of exercise. Like there is something that you're going to have to do, and that's a really great topic for most business owners. Is that absolutely you can have anything you want, anything. You just can't have everything. And the second that switch goes off, you're like, all right, I'm choosing this. It's hard, but you're choosing your future, you're choosing your dream, you're choosing your business, your empire, whatever you're building, over hanging out with your friends on the weekends.
Yeah, but so if you look at it from a person, because I went through this as well, and you have to. It's not a matter of losing; it's a matter of what you're replacing. So you're not losing, you're replacing. So if you look at it from those eyes, that for me, I used to love to drink, man. I was really, really good at it for several.
You were good at it.
I was incredibly good at it, right? I love it. It was one of my favorite things. And it got to a point where
Who says that?
I was, yeah, I mean, I have testimonials all day long for my drinking, but no, dude, but I also like to fight too. So I couldn't do both.
They go hand in hand.
For real, but not well.
Wow.
So I literally had to stop drinking to train so I could fight. And I gave up one to replace the other. And then with same with business, I like making money, but I also like sleeping. So you can't do both of those. So I'm going to replace that with something else. So then you evolve, and everything that you start to replace it with, you're replacing it with things that are better, and that's how you evolve. But the key that I was told a long time ago, and thankfully I took this advice, is that when you are on a trajectory to do great things and you're self-improving and you're getting your health is better, your business owner, all this stuff, you cannot forget to also bring the people around you that you care about, bring them up too. Make sure that they're doing things that are improving themselves, because it gets lonely at the top if you're the only one waking up at 4:00 in the morning and working out and eating healthy. And then you start to become resentful of everybody around you who's not. And you have this attitude like you're so much better or whatever because they're working hard. And it's not anyone else's fault other than yours if you didn't bring them along for the ride and help them get better. And, they say a rising tide lifts all ships. So that's where it's important to use the example of your friends. So if your friends are, not replace those friends, but bring those friends along that want to also replace going out drinking, partying, and things like that with the stuff that you're doing to grow your business and grow on that trajectory. And that's kind of replacement as opposed to cutting things out, I think, is the way to go.
Joe, I think that you can have alcohol and you can fight. You just can't have alcohol, fight, and not go to jail. So
sometimes
that's the one thing you had to give up.
They're not mutually exclusive, and there's the
Right.
difference between causality and causation and whatever
Sure.
that is.
Correlation.
Yeah.
All right. Two truths and a lie. I know the answer. I already know the answer. And I think one of these is a dead giveaway. I don't even know if Brandon realizes it, but let's go with fact number one. Sopranos is his favorite TV show of all time, hands down. Number two, when he gets a cheesesteak, provolone only, always. And he likes reef keeping, saltwater fish. Raising and keeping saltwater fish. Joe, which one is the lie?
That's a tough one, man. I don't know anybody that just gets provolone on a cheesesteak. That's that's weird, bro. I don't want. That's my personal preference. I can't do provolone on a cheesesteak. The reef keeping. That's. I don't know if it's because I got an aquarium behind me that maybe just came off the top of his head. It's yeah, I could do that. So it's between those two. I'm gonna go with the lie is the provolone on a cheesesteak.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna tell you, Brandon. I don't know. Do you remember that you have Tony Soprano behind you?
Yeah.
All right.
I realized that when I was putting it together, to be honest with you. But I was gonna sit like this. But
Wait, turn the camera again. Is that a aquarium I saw?
Yeah, right. Oh, what'd you see? You saw it in the right there in the reflection.
In the reflection.
Yeah.
I knew that you were into fish, and I knew that Tony Soprano. We talk about the Sopranos all day, every day.
Special.
We just quote the Sopranos every time we talk.
Or none.
It's the jacket. What episode was that?
It's Richie.
Richie Aprile. He gave the jacket away to his plumbers.
To the housekeeper's boyfriend. Whenever he sees him walking out of the house, he's so mad about it.
Great classic character. One of my favorite characters of all time. Dude, nobody puts. Some people put provolone on the cheesesteaks, man, but
Dude,
you gotta go Cooper Sharp or American.
Whiz wit till I'm in the ground.
Whiz wit. All right.
Whiz wit. Well, I hear a lot of the Cooper Sharp lately, though. I never had.
Yeah, it's like the
Is that
new
a new
fad,
thing?
bro.
Is that a new thing?
Ken's a big Cooper Sharp guy.
Big Cooper Sharp guy.
I think people just say it because it sounds cool.
I know.
No. It's different. It's
American cheese, bro.
What's wrong with Whiz?
It's Sharp American. It's American. Cooper. First of all, Cooper cheese is a brand.
Here we go.
They make American cheese.
Here we go.
That's sharp, just like cheddar and sharp cheddar.
That sounds like
I'm gonna put Cooper whatever in a bowl, and then I'm gonna put Land O'Lakes right next to it. I
guarantee you, I can tell the difference.
No shot.
I can tell the difference on a cheesesteak if you give me one with Cooper Sharp or one with American.
Okay.
I
All right, Bourdain.
You just want that competition so you can eat 2 cheesesteaks, you fat bastard.
You're not 100% wrong.
What's Whiz, dude?
Whiz is
I like Whiz.
Whiz.
Whiz,
If
dog.
you do Whiz and you could do Whiz in American. If I was out drinking, Whiz in American.
Whiz
Yeah.
and American?
Yeah, onions, stuff, and cherry peppers in it, like just all over the place, like a shithead. That's the best of all time.
Pretty good.
I had the worst cheesesteak I've ever had in my entire life last week. Now, I'm at Xfinity Live. I already know it's not going to be great. Like, that's already a baseline. I know it's not, and that's fine. I'm not expecting good. I'm not expecting good. But what I got was horrific. I got that Gino Steaks at Xfinity Live.
Roll that's like this.
Oh, dude, the people making the steak could not have cared less about the shit they were putting on that.
In their defense, I mean, they're serving them to people who have had 64 Bud Lights that day.
Well, that's true.
I mean, you could literally smear shit on it and hand it to them. They'd be like, "Thanks." Like,
Dude, I couldn't finish it.
What's wrong with that?
It was nasty, flavorless. The cheese was cold. I don't know if the meat was cooked all the way. There was no seasoning whatsoever. It just was terrible. But I am going to Angelo's on Thursday, ranked
all time
by Barstool as the top cheesesteak in Philly, and I agree. It's my number one. It's
I'm a Phillips guy all day.
Dude, I went back to Phillips, man. It's not the same.
That's the one. Really?
Yeah. It's not the same.
That's Phillips been my number one. I think, KJ, I think you're the first person that took me there.
Yeah, it used to be my number one.
That's the number one, dude.
Not anymore, Joe. You got to check out Angelo's, and you got to check out Curly's in the Northeast. Curly's Comfort Food in the Northeast. Phenomenal.
I don't go up there, bro.
Me neither. That's the Irish folk. All in the Northeast.
Northeast.
So what else, Ken?
Atsö, your brand, your clothing line, right?
Yeah, so kind of expanded out to, making high-end apparel. I found a guy who prints for me who he can just get stuff that a lot of other places can't get, and it's
high quality too, man.
Very high quality, and I think that it's what's necessary for me to, if I'm going to make clothes, I'm very into fashion, like I've always been. I mean, realistically, the only one in the office who wore a suit every day.
Yeah, and a $900 belt buckle.
Sometimes. And,
Did you win that in a rodeo or something?
Yeah, the big one.
It was $900 entry fee to the rodeo, and he won the belt buckle.
It would have 10 gallon.
Yeah, it all kind of just came about, and I think it's just adding like another facet to the business, another income stream, to where people want to represent. They want to support businesses, especially if it's like their friend or whatever, even if they don't have cars. And that's part of the reason that I made it high end, because I have a lot of friends who aren't car people. So like the majority of my real friends aren't. Like I'm the only one who's like really like a car person, like through and through. So, you know, it kind of just was like I want to make shit that I would wear, and like when my friends text me, you're like, "Oh, I'm going out today in the city or whatever." I'm like wearing your shirt or whatever because they can, and it's not some like Gildan cotton piece of shit. That's the brand I want to create. It is a little more expensive, but at the end of the day, you're getting the quality that you're paying for.
It's
Same
in
as
line with your brand, though. You can't use high end products on high end cars and do really high end work and then have crappy merchandise.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that like in today's day and age, people just cut corners in every facet of life. Like nobody wants to put the work in ever. They don't want to go through the trouble to find high end clothes. They don't want to go through the trouble to lose weight by going to the gym and just cleaning their diet up. They always want to take the easy route, and it's like the pussification is really just taking place, and we're getting like hit with it. But I think that everyone, social media especially, makes it look a lot easier than it is. You know what I mean? There are people who are really good at social media, but they cut corners on the back end, and I just think that there's no replacement for like high quality hard work. Like it's just the foundation. You have no choice. You know what I mean? If you, in my opinion, if you want to be
That's
successful
great.
in whatever you do, like, I mean, dude, I keep this on my desk. My dad bought me this when I was sick. Christmas gift when you're like 9 years old. I probably had no idea what the fuck this was when I opened it. But it says if you don't pick up the ball and run with it, somebody else will. And like that's kind of how I just treat everything. It's like if you don't, same thing with Ken. If Ken's not going to call that realtor on a Monday morning, some other mortgage guy who might be some shithead who is on Instagram and he might be good at social media or do whatever that realtor sees that day, he's gonna call him and he's gonna take the business. You know what I mean? With software company, if you don't call them or make the move, somebody else is gonna make the move. It just is what
100%.
it is. And I feel like going back to your first question, Ken, like some people it's faster than others. Climbing that ladder might take a long time for some people, but at the end of the day, if you're a big universe guy, if the universe continues to see you put the work in every day, they might make you take baby steps, but at some point you're going to get to the breakthrough you're looking for. But you can't get around the fact that you have to work hard. Like it just there's no way around that. Like people think that they can make good Instagram videos, but then once they get the appointment or whatever they get, you're dead in the water.
The universe, man, it delivers everything you ask for, but you have to ask in the right language. It doesn't speak English. It doesn't speak Spanish. It speaks the language of action. As long as you speak with the language of action, you will absolutely get everything that you want. And your actions have to obviously be in alignment with what it is you want. Like, I guess you can't sit on your butt and say you want, great things to happen. That's a lack of action. It's not moving in the right direction. Speaking of Instagram, dude, your Instagram videos lately have been awesome. Joe, you got to check them out. I'll just leave it at that. Other than that, Brandon, I appreciate you joining us here. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll have you back. I know that Spotify and Apple Podcasts they're gonna basically make this an explicit podcast now because of all the cursing today, but it is what it is, man. I wouldn't want it any other way.
We got to get political in the next one, Joe. I hear Ken's dodging it. I'm ready.
Dude.
I'm
This guy-
ready. I want to rock. I want to go in on everything that's wrong with society today.
Let's
Like,
go.
I'm ready. I'm ready to. If you want to do one off on the side,
Maybe you guys do your own podcast.
Ken,
Daddy is a scared little.
look at him. He doesn't even look. He's waiting. He doesn't even want me to say nothing right now.
Nope.
Right? Daddy,
Yeah,
how many
You
times you
guys
got
gotta go on my. You know what you need to do? You guys have to go on my dad's podcast. He's the one that gets political. His shit
Right.
is nuts.
He's got like a big American flag.
Are you calling him a conspiracy theorist? Is
No,
that what you're saying?
I'm calling him a. He stirs the pot. He stirs the
all
pot.
right.
His
Okay.
his podcast is called the Free Zone Communique. Like this dude is, he's out there trying to shine a spotlight on
The truth.
all the things that are wrong with this country. So you guys would be perfect for it. I'll see him tonight. I'll tell him to call
Bro.
you guys. You're gonna be guests on his next podcast.
All right, man.
Speaking of which, he had Kurt Weldon on. Kurt Weldon was just on Tucker. Like he was
way.
on my dad's podcast, then he went on Tucker.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
So,
amazing, dude.
You gotta listen to what Kurt Weldon's saying, Brandon. He's putting some crazy stuff out there right now. And he's a former
Not crazy. Why do you keep calling it crazy, dude?
crazy meaning it's like crazy. I'm not saying it's crazy wrong. It's just like it's pretty nuts.
There's a protest in front of a Tesla dealership looking for you, KJ. I think you're late for it.
Speaking of which, I gotta go. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks for listening to Selling the Dream. We know you don't want to miss a single episode, so go subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts. And then make sure to share the show with your friends and leave us a review.